Okay, okay, okay. Peace, 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 peace. This is Adia here. Um, it's sunny and very nice, but I'm still in the shade. So, uh, if you're new here, I share a lot of things in the way of reflections on personal autonomy and self-trust and spiritual wellness, and that whatever it is that you're looking for, you already know. This grass back here is tickling my back. It's time for my son to cut the grass. So I was thinking this week, in my reclamation and my growing into myself, into more of myself, uh, and as I'm continuing to develop into my queen age years, is how much more comfortable it makes me in my body. So, um, unfortunately, the feeling of trying to fix your body is something that is not new for women, and unfortunately is now being spread to our sons. Um, and I won't go into all that, but it's not new. And we have often been judged internally and externally for the way that our bodies look, for the weight that we have or don't have, for the fullness or lack of fullness of our breast, hips, belly, all those things. But what I have noticed is the more that I am full of myself, the more pleased I am with the fullness of my body. Now, it's not that I've never been pleased with the fullness of my body. I am, as people would like to say, thicker than a snickle. I am thick like old grits. All of those things. When I was a little girl, my father used to say that we used to call my backside a black man, like the black side of my family. But it's also very much like the other side of my family, my mother's side of my family. Because I remember one time, excuse me, one time I was at an event and someone in the family asked me, "How are we going to know who your aunt is?" And when she walked in and he saw her walk past, it's like, "Oh, there she is." She didn't just resemble me in the hips; she resembled me in the face as well. But so it is not being sick is not new. Um, as the sage poet has said, "Little in the middle, and she's got much back." As the sage poet Sir Mix-a-Lot has said, that has been my you might get to use has been my makeup as my body makeup. Oh, I hope you got to hear him. I really do. He's going in. Um, but as it was said by wise Sir Mix-a-Lot, little in the middle, and she's got much back. That is the way that my family, particularly my mother's side, has been built. But at a young age, I just kept thinking, uh, your booty jiggles too much, or your thighs are too thick, or the such, all the things that are appreciated and copied by many, many people. Um, I used to fixate on those things. And so as I've gotten older, my middle's not as little, uh, and I still have much back. And I remember a few weeks ago, I had done a yoga class as part of the medicine that works for me. I had done a yoga class and I had lifted my arms overhead and I was smiling, and YouTube chose that as the thumbnail. And I was like, oh, but my belly's not flat, and my belly, la 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 la. A picture of this one pattern. He's coming closer and closer and closer. He's so pretty. Um, okay, focus. I've never seen him this, but so I coming to recognize where I have sacrificed my inner autonomy in order to please other people or to fill myself with their voice. And also paying attention to externally where Um, I've looked to be smaller to match my shrinking on the inside. A smaller woman is supposed to be like, easy to fit under a man's arm, protected and beautiful, and all of those things. Um, but that's not my aesthetic. That is also not my family's aesthetic, and it's not my cultural aesthetic. So I was like, well, let's run through some beauty standards um, culturally, and then also look at the ones that would be akin to my culture. So when I was when I was a little girl, and when I became a teenager, when I was a little girl, we used to do butt out in the backyard. There's a picture of me somewhere of that being done. And my father would call it my black. She poking out her black. When I got a little older, I remember hearing the term buen cuidado, meaning well taken care of. And, this is in the 90s, so people are playing with beauty images and standards. And they were talking about Latino women and being full. And if you're buen cuidado, then you have eaten well. And I was like, oh, okay, then I'm buen cuidado. Like I'm thick, I'm thick. Uh, and so, as I went off to college, there were the 90s were the age of supermodels. Um, and, a balance of, at least to me, a balance to be able to see Roshumba and Naomi Campbell alongside the other white supermodels whose names are mentioned all the time. I didn't feel like I wasn't going to see Black women. I just didn't always feel like I was going to see my shape in particular. I'm pear shaped. So I thought about it and I was like, well, let's look at, because European beauty standards are what are settled on us so much. And I can't even just say in the States because it unfortunately is spreading throughout the world. Looking back at the history of European beauty standards. So, I remember in The Witches of Eastwick, I think it was Cher's character was making all those beautiful little rounded uh, goddesses who had very full breasts and very round bellies, and they had fupas. And a sister friend of mine told me that the fupa is the lid on the pum pum jar. It keeps all the sweetness in, keeps it warm, and keeps all the sweetness in. But there's a sculpture that Venus of Willendorf, and it'll pop up on the screen. But she has a full bust, a full belly, very wide hips, and fertility is what you're seeing when you look at this sculpture. She doesn't have a head, but we're seeing this belly, this body, this fullness, and even looking at the coming forward there. Once you get to Greece, and I'm going to go through this quick, but it's interesting to me that these are the things that we aspire to when it's not my culture, nor is it my time, nor is it realistic. Um, when you think about Greece, the women were still kind of full, but the Greek aesthetic was really about the men. They were focused on the beauty of men's bodies, which has a lot of reflection in the culture of Greek culture, which I will not go into. Um, but they were very focused on the men's bodies, and the women's bodies were like, quote, the beautiful evil thing, unquote, because women, even to date, are largely seen as possessions and something to have. Um, but are valued for our ability to bring forth babies, not valued for all the magic it takes to be a person that creates, not just physically, but spiritually and calls things into being, you know. So the focus there was largely on the men. And then when we get to the Renaissance, what's funny to me is what the men were painting as images of beauty during the Renaissance era of round full faces makes me think about how sculptures in Ghana looked, because there's always a lot of appropriation and there's always straight out theft. And so in Ghana, the idea of a round, open face is beautiful. We see it in the sculptures. You see it on the women when you're in Ghana. And that's what it made me think of when I was looking at that. So, we come forward and once we get into, uh, I'm not repping this lady. Um, the only queens that I want to talk about are Angela Bassett, Aretha Franklin, things like that. But when there was a monarchy and there was a queen, the aesthetic was very pale skin and very bright red lips. And so it's a class thing. So I'm going to insert a video here, here, maybe the whole thing that talks about that.
To be prettier? Welcome to the 18th century, where beauty isn't pain, it's poison. Being white is beautiful. This is not a black versus white thing. It's actually not about race. It's about money. If you're wealthy, you don't have to go outside to work, so you don't tan. So if you're rich, you're very light. My white lead and vinegar paint can cause infertility. And since I'm a woman in the 18th century, my value is to give my husband babies. So I look beautiful, but I risk losing my value as a woman. I'm probably gonna go into menopause early and cause skin damage, but I can cover it with more lead paint. And to highlight how white my skin is, I'm adding blue veins. Eyebrows were crescent shaped and often drawn with lead because we needed more poison. And if you don't have brows, we can glue on some made from moose fur. Blush was either red or pink and a circle on the cheeks. Lips, a pink or coral pout. If it's giving porcelain doll, I did it right. And for my smallpox scars that the white lead paint didn't cover, beauty patches. And where I put it means something. Under the eye, passion. Forehead meant majestic, playful. If it was rumored that your makeup was poisonous, would you still wear it? Do you even know what's in your makeup? Would you poison yourself to be prettier? Welcome to the...
And it's mind blowing that that the desire to be seen as high class and not outside and not getting darker was so much so that people would paint themselves with lead paint. Lead, white, amazing. So anyway, coming forward into more of European things, we have they come forward into simpler makeup. They move forward into personal expression, still holding on to pale skin, moving back and forth between more voluptuous and then further and further into thinner, 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 uh, which is interesting, being that up until very recent history, giving birth and being able to be a mother have been a very big sense of value, not only externally but internally. And I love being a mother. I love having my children. I don't like other people ascribing what your value should be and how you ought to uh, procreate or not. That's a personal decision. Um, that's a personal decision. So even looking at things that like the quote unquote Gibson girl with the tousled hair, which is something that is held forward. It's actually in Pretty Woman. There's a scene in there where uh, Julie Roberts' hair has a very similar look to that Gibson girl. And this is the 90s. Um, we have flappers. They want to look very androgynous, very boyish. Uh, and then uh, coming even forward after the Depression, wearing the desires to be more buen cuidado or to look as if you've eaten because you don't want to look like you starved. And there was more copying of men's clothing because of the necessity to create out of what was there. So if there's men's clothing and you can make women's clothing out of it, then you do that. So shoulder pads, all of those things, which also leads into an hourglass shape. So looking at all of these things, coming into the 70s, the makeup is more natural, the hair is very long. In the 80s, we start with the supermodels. Um, we have our Beverly Johnsons, we have Beth Ann Hardison. We have those women start, and and there's an athletic build, and it's still very slender. And then, of course, in the 90s, there's all the supermodels, but the Kate Moss Twiggy connection is so interesting to me that Europeans would recycle and bring that back. And so, of course, in all of these beauty standards, Black women are living our lives here in the States and around the world, and we are uh, emulating these standards and making them our own. So, when I think of the aesthetic of Twiggy and her face and her eyes, she's slender and her eyelashes are so pronounced. There's pictures of Diana Ross that look the same. I think about Marilyn Monroe, and I think about Dorothy Dandridge. I think about uh, the flappers, and I think about Black women dressed as flappers. I think about the Cotton Club. I think about how we looked, and um, all of those things seeping into my subconscious as a young woman, into the subconscious of the young women around, and not even always subconscious, sometimes blatant. You should look like this. That name for the way that Kate Moss looked was heroin chic. And so repeatedly over and over in European history is this ideal of being so sick and emaciated that it makes you attractive. I remember there's a line like that in The Devil Wears Prada, where I think Emily says something like, "I'm one stomach flew away from my goal weight," and then it's a really sick way to exist. So then I think about the things that are culturally relevant for me. I think about the fact that when I watch sisters in West African dance move, some moves look good when you are full. A lot, most moves look good when you are full in the hips. And to see a young woman execute a young slim woman, that's what I want to say. But to see a slim woman, all these adjectives at any age, but it's something about an older, full woman carrying out those moves that it's like they're so much more pronounced, and it's the grace and the skill in her movement is remarkable. Um, it's remarkable, and so even to look at sculptures of uh, women in West Africa, South Africa, East Africa, to look at women in India, to look at uh, the representation of women in Latin America, uh, indigenous women. There's so much appreciation of full bellies, full breasts, full hips. Um, I think about a couple things. There's a video that a young woman is shooting, and I'm not sure what country she's from, so I'm not going to make it up. But she's on the continent, and she's talking about the desire to have a little belly.
Here, flat tummy is not a beauty standard. Flat tummy, you're not a beauty standard here when you have a flat tummy. So, you're over there stressing about having a flat tummy, beauty goals, beauty standard. But over here, if you have a flat tummy, it's a sign that you're not being fed well. You understand? I went to the market earlier today to buy some waist beads. And the tailor kept asking me, "Do you eat? Do they feed you well? What's happening?" And inside I'm like, in some places, they're like, "Oh, flat tummy goals." And then over here, you're not being fed well. So the beauty standard over here is having a little bit of belly. You must have some belly because honestly, the traditional outfits look better on you when you have a little bit of belly. There's where the beads just lay on the stomach and you just look so cute. So if you're over there and you ever worry, "Oh, I don't have a flat tummy," just come over here. The bigger the belly, the more beautiful you are. Anyways, don't these beads just look so cute? Yeah, I'm heading for the market day. And it's one of those days that you have to look cute in the market. But by the time I'm done with this visit. My grandmother will have fed me so much food, and I'll become a beauty standard with a little bit of belay, so that these beads just sit there like, chuk. And I'm just like,
And again, it's something about a woman who is full of herself internally, and if she happens to be round, which age will gift us with that. Even if we've been slender, age will gift us with some more fullness, some more heft. I think about Jill Scott, Jill Scott's last song, "Don't Play with It." It squeeze my meat like some substance, and not to shrink or to disappear. So as I continue to embrace my internal voice and to strengthen it and to continue to rekindle it and to be able to hear it uh, so strong and full that I'm full of myself. I'm so continually appreciative of the fullness of myself. Like I'm continually appreciative, and it was just an interesting thing to come to. And so as we are looking at the encouragement of women to shrink in every way possible, to shrink your voice, to shrink your thoughts, to shrink your autonomy. And then to see that the external world around you encourages you to shrink as well, shrink your body, get smaller, get slight, be an accessory, be, all of those things. Um, it was a cool thing to come to this week, to know that I'm beauty full of me, just full of me. Uh, yeah, full of me, and I'm happy to see more of me in every way, and to appreciate all of me in every way. So I say that to encourage you as well. You know, be full of you and appreciate all of you. Uh, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be born into this world, to come here just as you are, and to appreciate just who you are. So anyway, this is Reverend Popo, Wangu Yogi Sister Mama Audio saying, "Be yourself." All right. See you later. Peace.